For the year 2020, I am making a video review for every new movie I saw, whether in theaters or at home, and on January 15th, I saw the final cut of Blade Runner for the first time. Welcome to my year in movies. This is Talking to Myself. So I think true boldness is letting your third YouTube video ever be about how much you didn't like beloved sci-fi classic Blade Runner. I didn't mean for this to happen. I went into Blade Runner thinking it was going to be like my new favorite movie. And like, I mean, hot 1980s Harrison Ford in a grungy, futuristic, neo-noir movie is a difficult thing to hate. However, with about 30 minutes to go, I felt this mounting dread as I sank further into my seat of, oh no, I hate this. I don't like this at all. And I kind of hurried out of the theater before the mom sitting next to me, who had asked if I'd seen it before, asked what my thoughts were. And when I got home, I posted that I didn't like it, and I had multiple people reach out to me. Like, my mom texted me, "You hated Blade Runner?" I didn't want to. I had an ex reach out to me. He's like, "How could you have hated Blade Runner?" And it's like, I don't know, man. All of the pieces were there. I should have loved it. I mean, I am obsessed with Detroit Become Human. And Blade Runner is just Detroit Become Human with fewer steps. I mean, you have an alcoholic cop played by an actor I love. You have androids chasing androids. You have deep questions about what it means to be a person, what it means to be human, hence the title of Detroit. And the pieces were there, but for some reason in this final product, I didn't like it. And I mean, like, as I'm recording this now, it's been about 2 weeks since I originally saw it, and I'm still not 100% sure what didn't work. And in processing my thoughts, I'm going to try and, in processing my thoughts, I am going to spoil some major plot points. The movie is 40 years old, but if you haven't seen it yet, don't let my perception of the film and me talking about it ruin that. So when I was talking about it to my boyfriend after I got home, he hypothesized that I'd hate the main character, and then I don't think I hated Deckard. I understood really quickly that he was gonna be kind of a jerk, and I was fine with that. What bothered me, and this isn't even the biggest problem I had with the film overall, Deckard kind of assaults Rachel, and it's never addressed at all. It's not that every crime against a character needs to be addressed, or even things that the protagonist does wrong needs to be addressed, but it's like, it just kind of happens, and the framing doesn't necessarily make a viewer think that what is happening is wrong. It just kind of happens, and we get this sensual, slow jazz stuff going on underneath, and it's just weird, and it was uncomfortable, and like, I wasn't sure if it was him trying to prove that Rachel was a replicant because she'd be compliant with him making her stay, or if it was to demonstrate, major spoiler alert, I guess, that Deckard's a replicant and that he's supposed to, it's supposed to show that like he doesn't have any emotions. I don't know, it felt really uncomfortable. I didn't like it. And again, that's not like the thing that turned me off, because that happens pretty early in the film, and it was like the ending that I realized that the movie as a whole I didn't like. And I think what bothered me most is that there were these things being said, and they all felt disjointed to me, because like they threw in so many images, and it was obvious they wanted them to mean something, but none of it felt earned. Like towards the end of the film, Roy Batty, who is the replicant that Deckard is chasing, his problem is he's like decaying, and so he's trying to figure out a way to sustain his life going forward. But his joints are starting to lock up and decompose and stuff, and so he takes a nail and like pierces one of his hands, and it's like the movie nudges me in the shoulder and they're like, "That's a Jesus imagery," and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely a Jesus imagery, and it didn't feel connected to anything, and it felt meaningless as a result. And there were so many Jesus images with Batty, and I feel like it didn't go anywhere with it. And like at one point Roy's holding a dove in his free hand, and it's like they hit me over the head again with the Jesus imagery, and it's like, I get it, Roy's replicant Jesus probably, but I'm already out of the film by the time Rutger Hauer gets to this great speech, which I thought it was a much shorter speech than I was anticipating. I thought it was like, 4 minutes, and I was, gonna learn everything, but then, he says 2 lines and then dies. And so it's like, is that it? Is that it? Okay. Uh, and that's not to say the whole movie was a wash. Like, Rutger Hauer was incredible. He made Roy Batty like this really fun, interesting, and compelling character. And if the film was about him and the renegade replicants running around with him, like Pris and Leon, and the fourth one, I forget her name. And like Roy and Pris specifically had a really interesting dynamic, and I was really curious to see more of that. And if the film were about them, I feel like I would have liked it a lot more. But I understand if the film is about them, it loses kind of the neo-noir influence that it has when Deckard's the main character, and I understand that. The scene where Roy meets Tyrell is it was so chilling. Like, I sat there with my hands over my mouth, and I was expecting the rest of the film to be that hardcore, but then it just kind of wasn't, and maybe deep down that disappointed me. I don't know. And again, it wasn't a total wash. I think the production design was really cool. The opening 15 minutes of setting the scene with this ominous score by, I think it's either Vangelis or Vangelis. I don't know how to pronounce it. It set the tone perfectly. That I was really into. The way they set it up with, like, boom, Los Angeles, November 2019. I got chills. It was perfect. And so there's a lot going for this film, and I left this film with the distinct feeling that I would be watching it again. And, you know, I texted a bunch of people who did like the film to kind of get their perspective, what they understood about the film that I clearly wasn't getting, because I wanted to like the film. I really did. And through talking to my mom, I kind of got like a different perspective of seeing what kind of questions the film was trying to answer, and I do think that helped give a different dimension to the film that's definitely what I'm going to take into watching it again, is kind of keeping those questions in mind. And now that I know where the plot goes, I can focus on different things and maybe come around to it. If I do end up watching Blade Runner 2049, know that I have come to terms with Blade Runner, the original, and I am prepared to move on and embrace the sequel for all it's worth. Until then, the production rating for Blade Runner, I'm giving that an easy 9 out of 10. Some of it didn't age super well, but for the most part, it's a really solid production design. The costumes are pretty cool. Rewatchability is an 8 out of 10. I think there are even reviews that talk about how you kind of have to watch it again. And my personal enjoyment was like a 5 out of 10, which that brings its overall rating for right now to like a 7 out of 10. My personal enjoyment may change as I get older, as I am in a different stage of life, as I watch it again. Who knows? Let me know what you like about Blade Runner, what you appreciate, what you see in that movie. I do genuinely love hearing about what people like about a movie. So let me know if you like Blade Runner, or let me know if there's a classic that everyone else is expected to like that you just cannot get into for the life of you. Let's bond in solidarity over what films we don't understand. This has been My Year in Movies. Thank you for watching.